time to edit products. And for this, I'll first of all work on my admin.js file in the controllers folder. There we have two routes that are, or two functions that are related to editing products. The getEditProduct page, which is responsible for fetching the product that should be edited and for rendering it, and the postEditProduct page, which is responsible for saving these changes to the database. I'll comment both back in. And let's start with getEditProduct. There, the majority of the code can stay as it is, but when we then fetch the fitting product, we of course do this differently. We use product find by ID, and we find the product with prod ID, like this. And then we still get back products. However, well, actually we don't get back products anymore. We get back one product here, so no need to store it in a constant like this and extract it from an array. We get back one product automatically because we wrote that method in such a way. And we therefore can render this product. So this should work. Now let's quickly have a look at the view that belongs to this controller action, so to this edit product EJS file. And in there, you know what I'm looking for. We want to make sure we're always using product underscore ID when using the product ID, just to make sure that we extract the right thing from the document we get back from the server. So now with that, we got everything in place to hopefully make this edit button work partly. If I click on it, well, almost. Let's leave it on this page. The controller should work, but in the routes in the admin.js file, I of course have to comment this get route back in. So let's make sure this is done. And now with that, if we now reload that page, we indeed see the form with the default values filled back in. So now this is working, but of course, it's not that useful to only see the data, and we were able to fetch data before. The interesting part now would be to update it. Now to update it, let's go back to the product model. How could we update our product which is stored in the database? Well, let's go to the constructor and let's add a fifth argument here, the ID. And then I'll say this underscore ID is equal to the ID I'm getting here. You could name this underscore ID here too if you wanted to. So now we accept a kind of optional fifth argument. We're not passing it in the other places of the app, but here I do at least create the option of passing this too. And ID will therefore be undefined and be auto-generated by MongoDB, or we did set it, and then when we call save, I don't want to insert one, I want to create a new product instead. So for this, what I'll do is, I'll simply check if this underscore ID, if that is set, and if it is set, we'll update the product, otherwise we'll insert it. So I'll move my constdb function up there. I always need access to the database in both cases. And now I'll create a new variable, let dbop for db operation. And in the else case where we insert a document, dbop is equal to my connection to the database and then connecting to a collection and then inserting one. And then down there I can use dbop to follow along and actually return that. So now I have one case where dbop is simply my insert command and then I return my result. Or dbop is access to my database and to the products collection still. But then here I use update one. And as the name suggests, update one will update exactly one element. There are also update many, where you can update multiple elements at once. But here I know I only want to update one, so I can use update one. And now update one takes at least two arguments. And the first one is that we add a filter that defines which element or which document we want to update. So here again, I'll pass a JavaScript object, and we can filter for equality also, or run more complex queries, which you again can learn about in my MongoDB course if you want to. And here, I only want to find a document where underscore ID is equal to, and now again, I'll create a new MongoDB object ID, to which I pass this underscore ID. So the ID which is part of that object here. So I'm looking for a document where the ID matches the ID I have here in my product I'm currently working with. And for that document, we now, as a second argument to update one, we now specify how to update that document. This again is a JavaScript object where we describe the update, and this is now not the new object. So we don't say this here, as you could imagine, that we tell MongoDB, find me the existing document and replace it with this. Update one does not replace. Instead, we have to describe the operation, and we do this by using a special property name, which is understood by MongoDB, kind of a reserved name, you could say, $set. This again takes an object as a value, and here we describe the changes we want to make to the existing document which we found with this filter. And here, you could now actually say this, and you would instruct MongoDB to simply set these key value fields, which you have in your object here, to the document it found in the database. And therefore, since these are only key value pairs which exist in the document in the database, it will update the values of the document in the database with your new values. You could also write this in a more verbose way and explicitly say title should be equal to this title and so on. But since we want to replace all fields, we can just say this here. And now with that, we have a database operation that will update an existing database object. By the way, the ID will not be overwritten or anything like that. Only the upper fields are. So with that, let's go back to our admin.js controller. And in post added product, that is the part I want to work on in the next lecture to make sure that we actually are able to save our product.